So Fanger and Arbron bring Lauren and Chapman to the dome ship, where they play babysitter duty while the rest of the Andalites decide what to do with them. While the humans seem to be able to understand the Andalites' way of life relatively okay, Elfanger and Arbron just cannot grasp the concept of clothing, walking on two legs, and eating with mouths. You know, the same trying to comprehend human stuff that 20% of every Axe-narrated book consists of. By the way, all through the book, Elfanger describes little gestures and small habits that really flesh out the nature of the Andalites. For example, Andalites rarely gesture with their arms and instead gesture with their eye stalks. This goes a much longer way in fleshing out the Andalites than any long-winded exposition could. Subtlety is a powerful ally. But perhaps the thing that most fleshes out the Andalites race here is, of all things, the cover. Yeah, the cover. For most of the Animorph books, the covers were illustrated by David B. Mattingly, a pretty good science fiction and fantasy artist. However, the covers of all the Chronicles books were illustrated by Romus Kakalis, and with that, Romus gives us what many Animorphs fans consider the definitive image of what an Andalite looks like. Compare this to David B. Mattingly's Andalites. Those weird segmented eye stalks that look like they can barely move, that stubby tail with a blade barely the size of a hunting knife. How are they supposed to fight with those? If Andalites tail fight each other, do they have to fight ass to ass? Not to mention that Mattingly can't seem to draw Andalites without putting them in these weird, stiff poses, like they've hit a sudden case of rigor mortis. But don't get me wrong, I like David B. Mattingly a lot. A lot of his stuff is great, but if you want to show someone what an Andalite looks like, you break out the Romus Kakalis books. Wow, I've been in Tangent Central in this review, haven't I? Back to the plot. It's decided that the humans should be sent back to Earth and have their memories erased, suggesting the extreme measure the Andalites have taken with the whole Ciro's kindness, don't share technology thing. Even children, who have only seen what amounts to nature preserves in space and couldn't possibly explain it to anyone on their home planet, needs to get mind-melted. Supervising the trip is War Prince Aloran Semitur Kuras, and everyone who's been reading the series up to this point suddenly realized where the story is heading. We learn some more about Aloran, mainly that he became disgraced after losing the battle over the Hork-Bajir home planet, though why he was disgraced will not be discovered till much later. We also learn that he's a very old-school soldier when he learns that Arbron is very capable with computers. An exodatologist, eh? Aloran said with a slight sneer. The new ideal. Warrior, scientist, artist. It's not enough to be a fighter anymore, eh? They want a gentler, more balanced, more intellectual sort of warrior nowadays. Arbron looked helplessly at me. I guess so, War Prince Aloran. I mean, that's what they teach us anyway. For a while, Aloran said nothing. He just stared blankly, not at anyone, or at least not at anyone in the room. The electorate want war without slaughter. They want a clean, neat, honorable war. Fools. I was shocked. You didn't call the electorate fools. You just didn't. Sir, Arbron said timidly. The computer? What? Oh, yes, computer. Why not? Use it all you like, the prince said. We're in for a long, boring ride. And it is indeed a long, boring ride, since punching holes into the 8th dimension only gets them as far as Mars, and they can't go too fast or that light speed time warp thing will happen. So everyone finds their own little thing to do. Aloran keeps to himself, Arbron plays around with some data he pulled off one of the Skritinoz computers, and Elfanger and Lauren basically bug each other with questions. We just had a war, Lauren said. That's what happened to my dad. He was in it. He didn't get killed or anything, but he kinda... I don't know. After he came back, I guess he couldn't cope with reality, so he left. I saw Lauren's stock eyes swivel to look at Lauren. It was practically the first time he'd ever even noticed her. You have wars? I asked. But you don't have space travel. Who do you fight? Chapman arrived then, having arisen from a nap in his quarters. We fight each other, he said. He winked one eye. So, Lauren, Daddy went nuts though, huh? Another whacked-out nom-vet. I guess some guys can't take it. Lauren's eyes went wide, and then she turned to Chapman. But it was Lauren who spoke. Have you been in a war, human? He asked Chapman. Me? No, of course not. That war's over. Then be quiet, fool. Those who have been to war understand. Those who have not have no opinion worth hearing. He looked directly at Lauren. Even those who return from war may never really come home. Lauren turned his stock eyes back to the helm and said nothing more. Chapman shrugged, but I could see he was intrigued by Lauren. So was I, to be honest. What was he talking about? I never heard of an Andalite warrior coming back from the war unable to cope, as Lauren had put it, or whacked out, as Chapman had said. Why would Lauren feel such sympathy? It's nice to be reminded what the series' overarching thesis is, isn't it? Well, it's shit hits the fan time. Arbron discovers some strange things in the Skritna databanks, which is revealed to be data on the failed time matrix, a time-traveling device supposedly created by the Elamists. Though why he would need such a thing is beyond me. It's like a falcon building himself a biplane. The time matrix was in the Skritna ship that got away, and where was it going? The Yeerk-controlled Taxon homeworld. Welp. Of course the Yeerks having their hands on this would be a bad deal, though it does raise the question as to why time-traveling schemes haven't been tried before. I mean, after all, you can time travel by just pointing two laser guns at each other and firing at the same time. Or, hell, as we'll later see, you can do it with a simple nuclear explosion. Andalite toys for children run on nuclear power. Andalites are taught time travel in grade school. Sure, none of this may be as refined as some time machine made by the gods, but it doesn't seem that far-fetched for someone to try and make some stitched-together time vehicle in their garage. Well, the Andalites can't just let the Yeerks have this, and hope that the Skritna have no idea what they have. Unfortunately, that means dragging along Lauren and Chapman into dangerous waters. They pull out of Z-space near the Taxon homeworld and manage to disable a transport ship. The three Andalites break inside and manage to overcome the forces piloting it, but this being his first official mission, Elfangor freaks out a bit, while Lauren tries to comfort him. Oh, and the Yeerk ship is carrying about 10,000 helpless Yeerk slugs. Lauren rather coldly demands they be flushed out into space, but Elfangor refuses. Things get tense. Be careful what you accuse me of, Aerith, Elfangor, Lauren said harshly. You're a child, so I forgive your impertinence. This time. But you are here to learn, not to question orders. And one of the things you'll learn, my idealistic Aerith, is that war is not about striking brave poses and playing the hero. War is about killing. Fortunately, it's pointed out that flushing the Yeerks would alert the surrounding Yeerk ships, so the humans are put into the lockdown and cloaked Andalite ship, while the three Andalites morph Taxons and fly the transport ship onto the Taxon planet. It's a dry, orange world with high mountains and sparse vegetation. The Andalites land in a giant spaceport, swarming with aliens. You know, I often comment on the war aspects of this series, the character development aspects, the realism, all of that. But it's moments like this that remind me that this is also some damn fun science fiction. So the Andalites as Taxons start searching the spaceport for the Skritna ship, but an industrial accident causes a Taxon to fall from a great height, which causes a feeding frenzy. And now, children, it's Greg's story time. My grandfather fought in World War II and brought back several stories with him. One such story concerned an American agent, posing as a German civilian, riding on a German train car. In the middle of the room was a bucket where everyone could see, which was used as a toilet. It was a long train ride with no stops, but the American was just too decent and sophisticated to use the bucket. Pretty soon it became obvious to the soldiers on board that the American was holding it, and soon his cover was blown and he was captured. So, guess what happens when Elfangor doesn't give in to the Taxon's instincts to eat fresh meat? Yep, he gets picked up out of the crowd by a Hork-Bajir controller known as Subvisor 7. The Subvisor escorts Elfangor into a transport and starts interrogating Elfangor while heading to one of the mountains. It soon becomes clear that the Subvisor isn't sure if this is an Andalite Morph or a rebel Taxon, which is news to Elfangor. Up to this point, it was thought that all Taxons willingly became hosts of the Yeerks, so any kind of Taxon resistance must have been pretty hushed up by the Yeerks. Or maybe, just maybe, by the Andalites. Then Subvisor 7 begins to imagine out loud what it would be like to control an Andalite body, which causes Elfangor to outburst in youthful arrogance. "My name is Elfangor, Yeerk," I said. "Remember the name. You will be hearing it again, but you will never take me alive." Yeah, why don't you just yell, Wolverines! while you're at it?